Did you know that Immanuel Kant's philosophical ideas laid the groundwork for much of modern thought, fundamentally altering how we understand knowledge, morality, and the nature of reality itself? Kant's influence is so profound that his work has shaped not only philosophy but also science, ethics, and even contemporary debates on artificial intelligence and human rights. His ideas have become so ingrained in our thinking that they often go unnoticed, yet they form the backbone of many of our most cherished beliefs and values. Immanuel Kant, born in 1724 in Königsberg, Prussia, now Kaliningrad, is widely regarded as one of the most influential philosophers in history. His contributions to philosophy, science, and ethics have had a lasting impact on modern thought, shaping the way we understand the world and our place in it. Kant's work is often divided into three main areas: epistemology, the theory of knowledge; metaphysics, the study of the nature of reality; and ethics, the study of morality. His ideas have not only influenced academic disciplines but have also permeated popular culture and everyday thinking. Kant's life and upbringing played a significant role in shaping his philosophical journey. Born into a family of modest means, Kant received a rigorous education that emphasized classical learning and religious instruction. His early education was deeply influenced by Pietism, a movement within Lutheranism that stressed personal piety, moral rigor, and a strong sense of duty. This religious and moral upbringing instilled in Kant a deep sense of ethical responsibility and a commitment to rational inquiry. Kant's intellectual environment was also crucial to his development. Königsberg, his hometown, was a bustling center of trade and scholarship, providing Kant with access to a wide range of intellectual influences. The city's university, the Albertina, where Kant studied and later taught, was a hub of Enlightenment thought, exposing him to the latest ideas in philosophy, science, and mathematics. This rich intellectual milieu fostered Kant's curiosity and encouraged his pursuit of knowledge. Before Kant, philosophy was grappling with several significant challenges. One of the most pressing issues was skepticism about knowledge. Philosophers like René Descartes and David Hume had raised doubts about the reliability of our senses and the possibility of knowing anything with certainty. Descartes' famous dictum, "Cogito ergo sum," I think, therefore I am, was an attempt to find a foundation for knowledge in the certainty of one's own existence. However, this approach left many questions unanswered, particularly concerning the external world. Hume, on the other hand, argued that our knowledge is limited to our experiences and that we cannot know anything beyond what we perceive. This skepticism posed a significant challenge to the idea that we can have objective knowledge of the world. If our senses are unreliable and our knowledge is limited to our experiences, how can we trust anything we claim to know? Envision a world where you can't trust your own senses. Every time you reach out to touch something, you wonder if it's really there. Every time you see a beautiful sunset, you question whether it's just an illusion. This was the philosophical landscape before Kant, a world of doubt and uncertainty. Another major challenge was the moral dilemmas of the time. The Enlightenment era, during which Kant lived, was a period of significant social and political change. Traditional moral authorities, such as the church and the monarchy, were being questioned, and new ideas about individual rights and freedoms were emerging. This created a need for a new moral framework that could guide individuals in a changing world. Consider the moral quandaries of the time. Should people follow the dictates of the church, even if they conflicted with their personal beliefs? Should they obey the monarchy, even if it meant sacrificing their freedoms? These questions highlighted the need for a moral compass that was independent of traditional authorities. Immanuel Kant addressed these challenges through his groundbreaking philosophical ideas. One of his most famous concepts is the categorical imperative, which is central to his ethical theory. The categorical imperative is a principle that guides moral action and is based on the idea that moral laws must be universal and applicable to all rational beings. Kant argued that an action is morally right if it can be universally applied without contradiction. This principle provides a framework for determining moral actions that are independent of personal desires or consequences. Kant's categorical imperative can be summarized in several formulations, the most famous of which is, "Act only according to that maxim whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law." This means that one should only act in ways that one would be willing to see become universal laws for all rational beings. For example, lying would be morally wrong because if everyone lied, trust and communication would break down, making society impossible. Another key idea of Kant's is transcendental idealism. This concept addresses the problem of skepticism about knowledge. Kant argued that while we cannot know things as they are in themselves, what he called the noumena, we can know things as they appear to us, the phenomena. This distinction allows for the possibility of objective knowledge while acknowledging the limitations of human perception. Kant's transcendental idealism is based on the idea that our minds actively structure our experiences. He believed that space and time are not objective features of the world, but rather the framework through which we perceive the world. This means that our knowledge is always shaped by our cognitive faculties, and we can never know the world as it is in itself, independent of our perception. Picture trying to describe the color red to someone who has been blind from birth. No matter how hard you try, you can't convey the true essence of red because it's a subjective experience. Kant's idea is similar. We can never know the true essence of things, only how they appear to us. Kant's ideas about knowledge and morality are interconnected. He believed that moral laws are not derived from experience but are a priori, meaning they are known independently of experience. This idea is central to his concept of the moral law, which he saw as a fundamental aspect of human reason. Kant argued that the moral law is universal and applies to all rational beings, regardless of their individual circumstances or desires. Kant's ideas addressed the philosophical challenges of his time in several ways. His transcendental idealism provided a response to the skepticism about knowledge by offering a framework for understanding how we can have objective knowledge while acknowledging the limitations of human perception. By distinguishing between phenomena and noumena, Kant showed that while we cannot know things as they are in themselves, we can still have reliable knowledge of the world as it appears to us. Kant's ethical theory, based on the categorical imperative, provided a new moral framework that was independent of traditional authorities and based on universal principles. This framework offered a way to determine moral actions that were applicable to all rational beings, regardless of their individual circumstances or desires. By focusing on the universality of moral laws, Kant's ethics provided a foundation for individual autonomy and moral responsibility. Kant's ideas also had implications for politics and society. His concept of the kingdom of ends envisioned a society in which all individuals are treated as ends in themselves, rather than as means to an end. This idea is central to his political philosophy and has influenced modern concepts of human rights and individual autonomy. Kant argued that each person has inherent worth and dignity and should be treated with respect and dignity, regardless of their social status or circumstances. Visualize a society where everyone is treated with the same respect and dignity, regardless of their background or beliefs. This is the essence of Kant's kingdom of ends, a utopian vision where every individual is valued for who they are, not just for what they can do for others. However, Kant's ideas were not without controversy. His transcendental idealism challenged the prevailing empiricist views of his time, which held that all knowledge comes from experience. Kant's argument that our minds actively structure our experiences was a radical departure from the empiricist tradition. This created tension between Kant and his contemporaries, who saw his ideas as a threat to their philosophical beliefs. Moreover, Kant's ethical theory, with its emphasis on universal moral laws, was seen as too rigid and abstract by some. Critics argued that Kant's categorical imperative did not account for the complexities of real-life moral dilemmas, where context and consequences often play a significant role. This created a divide between Kantian ethics and more context-dependent moral theories. One of the most significant moments in Kant's philosophical career was the publication of his magnum opus, Critique of Pure Reason, in 1781. This work fundamentally altered the landscape of philosophy and has had a lasting impact on modern thought. In the Critique of Pure Reason, Kant presented his transcendental idealism and argued that our knowledge is structured by our cognitive faculties. He also introduced his famous distinction between phenomena and noumena, providing a framework for understanding the limits of human knowledge. The Critique of Pure Reason is often seen as a turning point in the history of philosophy. It marked a shift from the empiricism of philosophers like Hume to a new form of idealism that acknowledged the active role of the mind in shaping our experiences. Kant's ideas challenged the prevailing views of his time and laid the groundwork for much of modern philosophy. The publication of the Critique of Pure Reason was not without controversy. Kant's ideas were initially met with skepticism and criticism, but they eventually gained widespread acceptance and influence. The work has been translated into numerous languages and has been the subject of extensive scholarly debate and interpretation. In a surprising twist, Kant's ideas have found unexpected applications in contemporary debates on artificial intelligence, AI, and human rights. Kant's concept of the categorical imperative has been used to argue for the ethical treatment of AI, suggesting that if AI systems are to be considered rational beings, they should be treated with the same moral considerations as humans. This has sparked debates about the rights and responsibilities of AI, highlighting the enduring relevance of Kant's ideas in the modern world. Moreover, Kant's ideas about the inherent worth and dignity of each person have shaped modern concepts of human rights and individual autonomy. His vision of a kingdom of ends has influenced political philosophy and has provided a foundation for modern democratic values. This has led to a reevaluation of traditional moral authorities and a shift towards more individual-centered ethical frameworks. Kant's philosophical ideas have had a profound influence on subsequent philosophers, shaping the course of modern philosophy. One of the most notable philosophers influenced by Kant was Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. Hegel's dialectical method, which emphasizes the process of thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, was deeply influenced by Kant's transcendental idealism. Hegel saw history as a dialectical process leading to the realization of absolute spirit, a concept that builds on Kant's ideas about the active role of the mind in shaping our experiences. Another philosopher deeply influenced by Kant was Arthur Schopenhauer. Schopenhauer's pessimistic philosophy, which views the world as a place of suffering and the will as the fundamental driving force, was a reaction to Kant's ideas about the limits of human knowledge and the nature of reality. Schopenhauer's concept of the will as the underlying force behind all phenomena can be seen as an extension of Kant's distinction between phenomena and noumena. Friedrich Nietzsche, although critical of Kant's moral philosophy, was also influenced by Kant's ideas about the limits of human knowledge. Nietzsche's concept of the will to power and his critique of traditional morality can be seen as a response to Kant's ethical theory and his distinction between phenomena and noumena. Nietzsche argued that Kant's moral philosophy was too rigid and abstract, failing to account for the complexities of human experience. Kant's ideas continue to influence contemporary philosophy, shaping debates about knowledge, morality, and the nature of reality. In the field of epistemology, Kant's transcendental idealism has influenced debates about the nature of knowledge and the limits of human perception. Contemporary philosophers, such as John McDowell and Robert Brandom, have engaged with Kant's ideas, exploring the relationship between mind and world and the role of language in shaping our experiences. In ethics, Kant's categorical imperative has provided a framework for determining moral actions that are applicable to all rational beings, regardless of their individual circumstances or desires. Contemporary philosophers, such as Christine Korsgaard and Honora O'Neill, have built on Kant's ethical theory, exploring the implications of the categorical imperative for modern moral dilemmas and the role of autonomy and moral responsibility in ethical decision-making. Kant's influence can also be seen in contemporary debates about artificial intelligence and human rights. His ideas about the inherent worth and dignity of each person have shaped modern concepts of human rights and individual autonomy. His vision of a kingdom of ends has influenced political philosophy and has provided a foundation for modern democratic values. This has led to a reevaluation of traditional moral authorities and a shift towards more individual-centered ethical frameworks. In conclusion, Immanuel Kant's lasting impact on modern thought is undeniable. His ideas about knowledge, morality, and the nature of reality have shaped not only philosophy but also science, ethics, and contemporary debates on artificial intelligence and human rights. Kant's transcendental idealism provided a response to the skepticism about knowledge, offering a framework for understanding how we can have objective knowledge while acknowledging the limitations of human perception. His ethical theory, based on the categorical imperative, provided a new moral framework that was independent of traditional authorities and based on universal principles. Kant's influence can also be seen in contemporary debates about artificial intelligence and human rights. His ideas about the inherent worth and dignity of each person have shaped modern concepts of human rights and individual autonomy. His vision of a kingdom of ends has influenced political philosophy and has provided a foundation for modern democratic values. By addressing the philosophical challenges of his time, Kant laid the groundwork for much of modern thought and has left a lasting legacy that continues to inspire and inform contemporary debates. His ideas have shaped the way we understand the world and our place in it, and they continue to influence various fields today.